What is up, Retromaniacs? Welcome to Retro Card Chat Podcast. I am Mike from Mike's Retro Trading Cards, and I am joined today by the Professional Keystone Media Award winner, Eric Pahalik, and Joe Day. How you doing? How you doing, guys?
Great.
Let's start the pod off here. There we go. The beer is it's not picking it up as much.
No.
Gotta
do better. Gotta do better.
I know. Gotta find a better beer that cracks open. All right.
There you go.
There we go. So now we're ready.
What's new, boys?
Big news for EP.
Big news. Let's hear it. Other than the Professional Keystone Media Award,
I gotta say that my job is to design the paper and to be an editor, but largely design is one of my big deals. And to win that award for the first time ever, and I've been working in a newspaper since 1997, so to win that award for the first time ever is pretty awesome. So I'm excited about that. Thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it. Also, on the card side, I have my first ever PSA submission, and I got the cards back. First ever. And I was really happy with it. The grades were, the one grade was the Kobe was a little bit lower than I thought, but both the Trout and the Brady were higher than I thought they were going to be. So I was ecstatic.
So tell everybody what was the Trout card?
The Trout card was a 2011 Bowman Chrome draft, and it was a PSA 9. The Brady was a 2000 Quantum Leaf. That was a PSA 7, and the Kobe was a cutting edge, Skybox Apex cutting edge insert that came back in 8. So, and I bet you, I got this Apex at Mike's shop, and I bet you I probably bought maybe 2 packs of that, possibly, and that's probably the best insert out of that set. And to get that and have it come back in 8, I was ecstatic. I sound like an idiot in the recording for the reveal. So
great.
You've heard dude. You've heard mine. How excited I get when some of those grades.
I'll wait until you hear mine too.
Yeah. Mike. You're gonna have to bleep out EP when he says the grades. That way, there's a little bit of drama for the video that you're gonna post that he's doing the blind reveal on. I think we're gonna have to bleep those.
So Joe, what are you up to?
I've been going through my the stuff that I had at my grandparents' house for about 20 years now, since 1999 to 2003 or so. Been going through that. It's a slog, I'll tell you. Going through literal bricks of Skybox Dominion, looking for Donald Driver rookie cards because they're worth like $5 to $10.
Oh wow!
But I did sell quite a bit of stuff on eBay, so it's been worth it. But now I'm starting to look at some of the base cards, the stacks of base cards I have to go through and just get organized and figure out how I want to do stack sales. So that's the next step, definitely.
A lot of fun. I got my own PSA order back this week, 20 card economy order, and I'm going to show it off. The highlight of the order was my LeBron James bazooka.
Beauty.
I can't,
man.
Yeah, I'm shocked. I mean, I knew it was a nice card, but wow, I would have never bet money it was a 10. So,
and that slab, it's almost like an HGA color match slab. It really is. I mean, it's got the red, white, and blue. It just looks perfect with that card.
Yeah,
I don't usually say that about PSA slabs and labels.
Yeah, it looks nice though. Really nice in that.
It makes it look good.
Well, speaking of PSA, one of our topics here, we're going to cover a little bit of the news from the last week or so, and we're going to start things off with PSA announcing a deal with eBay to be their official authenticator of all graded cards over $2,000, I believe it is. So if you now buy a card worth more than $2,000 on eBay that's graded, it will go to PSA and they will check it over for authentication. That's not just PSA cards. They're going to be authenticating BGS, everything. So I guess I'll start with you, Joe, because you have a bunch of cards still sitting out in California waiting to be graded. How do you feel about them adding yet another service before the backlog is finished up?
Well, it's frustrating. I mean, so it's frustrating as someone who does have cards sitting there we're coming on, 13 months now. I've had my order sitting there. So they started with opening up the 5-card submission lottery. Then they bumped up to 20 cards. Now they're adding this feature with authentication with eBay. But I'll tell you what, as someone who is an SGC guy, and Mike, I know you're a CSG guy, having eBay or having PSA authenticate other slabs kind of makes me a little nervous. I'm wondering what the point is of having them authenticate someone else's slabs.
Yeah.
Because to be fair, the slabs that are the most faked, maybe that's why they went to PSA, but the slabs that are the most fake are PSA slabs. They're the ones that you see the most news about. So
well, a majority of the slabs are PSA anyway. So
right, especially the older ones they didn't have the lighthouse watermark effect and things like that. Those are the ones that you often see getting. I won't even buy them, to be honest. If I see a card that I want on eBay and it's a PSA slab, so for me, maybe this service opens up the possibility that I actually will go and buy some of those older slab cards from PSA, because at this point, I don't trust them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea personally. How about you, EP?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about a great idea. I feel like what gives them the right to be the ones that say that this is the most authentic card or authentic card. But I mean, they are the driver right now. They're in the lead, but still, like BGS has been around since before them, right? Like I believe BGS was started before them. So I feel like probably it needs to be authenticated, but like I guess you got to pick one of them, and they're the leader right now. So yeah,
I don't know if you have to pick one of them. Why didn't they make deals with all the companies? Say, when we get your slabs, we send them to you to be authenticated, and the ones, maybe they get the side deal with, what are they, like Gem Mint or HGA or these other side companies? Maybe they get the deal for that. But why are SGC slabs being scrutinized by PSA? I don't understand that. I think they could have done a deal with all 4 majors, make a deal with them, and then give PSA the probably minuscule side stuff, because they're going to get most of the slabs anyway, because most of the slabs that sell for over $2,000 are probably PSA anyway. You know, the vast majority.
I mean, it is a little odd, but I mean, could you imagine though eBay trying to get it right, sending SGC here, CSG there? Like they'd have cards ended up at your house, my house, and I'll be like, what am I supposed to do? Well, authenticate it. Okay. So well, I think that would be really hard in practice.
That's a question that I have then, I guess, is if I sell a $2,000 slab card, who do I send it to? Like, do I send it to an eBay address? Do I send it to PSA? Like, how's that process
They'll
work?
give you, I know in the other categories, they give you where you have to send it to. So like, instead of getting the buyer's address, eBay will send you to the authentication center that you need to send it to. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a hypothetical for you guys based on this question. Like, if you guys won a card from like GMA or one of these other one of the non-major grading companies, wouldn't you crack it open and send it into one of these companies to get it graded yourself? Or now it's just a thing where, would you send it, just try to sell it, and because it's going to be authenticated anyway? What would you guys do?
Personally, I would rather be able to get it and crack it and send it into PSA myself. But I mean, it's going to be weird. I mean, how many cards are there for those companies that are over $2,000 anyway? So, but I mean, that's one of the big issues with the whole program. A lot of people wish it were optional. I think it might be difficult to make it optional, but it might be a little easier to just make it all or nothing. But yeah, that's a good question though, because it's real. They're not necessarily authenticating the grade. They're just authenticating the card and the slab are real. But yeah, I think I'd rather have it personally to crack.
Well, I guess it depends too a little bit on whether we feel confident that those lesser company slabs weren't fake too, right? So for me, I'm cool with it being sent to whoever to be authenticated. So if it's PSA, that's who the deal is with. and they tell me, okay, this is authentic. Then they send it back to me. Okay, it's cool. It's an authentic card. It's an authentic slab. I'm just going to crack it at that point anyway, as long as it's not costing me more money, which I think at the end of the day, this is going to end up costing everyone a little bit more money because they're not going to keep this service for free. Businesses are not in the habit of just saying, oh, we'll do this service for you and not have any sort of financial impact. They might not charge for the service specifically, but they're going to up everyone's percentage on
They'll
sold
get it one
cards.
way or another.
They'll get it one way or the other. So that's my concern. And another thing, Mike, as a CSG guy, you've got to be a little worried that they're going to try and push CSG's business with eBay, push them down a bit. They're not coming in just to do this. PSA is just trying to get their foot in the door, and then they're going to try and push CSG out from the authentication business that they're doing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, from a business standpoint, like I appreciate it from PSA. They kind of were maybe asleep at the wheel a little bit with CSG coming on and making all these deals, but they're like, okay, we need to get involved with this too. But they're also lowering the level for raw cards that are going to CSG to 250 now. So
that's right in my wheelhouse. That's if I'm buying Brady cards and I'm buying raw Brady cards, I just had 2 that would have hit that magic number recently.
I had 1 too last week that would have. None of us have gotten one yet, right?
Nope.
Yeah, I haven't either. So.
Mine was off by, I think, $25 of the new or the current threshold. So it would have been a fun video to do for the channel, but now it just missed. It just missed.
Well, I'm sure one of us will get one here soon that we can do. But they'll transition from that. Speaking of CSG, they had their own announcement this week. I think it might even been the same day as PSA, but they have now entered into a deal with PWCC Marketplace. Anybody, basically, I think I have this right. Anybody who was sending PWCC cards to get graded, to sell on their marketplace, now have the option of having it graded by CSG. It's flat $20 a card, doesn't matter what the value of the card is, and they'll have it turnaround time of 10 days, and it goes right to auction after it gets graded. So you're not using that as a service to grade the cards for yourself, but you're able to take a card that you have a choice of either, do I want to sell it raw or do I want to have CSG grade it? And I think too that they're pushing off the fees until after the card sells too. I think it comes out of that at the end. So there's nothing up front. So interesting. How big of a deal do you think it actually is, though, EP?
I think it's huge. If you have a consignment service like PWCC or a service like PWCC does, like, why not? This is such a perfect add-on for their company. I think it's a great deal. I would take it if I was selling with them. If I had stuff that was worth selling with them, I would take advantage of it for sure, especially with the new label and everything.
Yeah.
Joe?
We talked about this, I think our very first podcast, we talked about this idea of one-stop shopping, right? This is kind of starting, going towards that trend. I will say, as an SGC guy, I am bummed out. CSG is making some great moves. From a business perspective, CSG is making awesome moves. And I'm like, why isn't SGC thinking about doing some of this stuff? That would have been, you see PSA coming in. CSG has the two big deals now with eBay and PWCC. I'm a little surprised if they didn't think of it already, if SGC wasn't trying to make some of these moves, because it just makes so much sense. For the deal itself, I will say I was curious, because I did watch a couple of other videos about this. Is does CSG Charge? Do they have a value charge multiplier?
Yeah,
like PSA does.
They don't have an upcharge, but they do have different levels of grading based on what you expect the card to be.
The value.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can take that $20 and turn it into $40 even, if you can even double that $20 value if you get a card graded. I will say this though, if I had, let's say, just randomly a Bowman Chrome Brady rookie, right? And I just had it sitting around ungraded. I found it in a box. I think I'd probably rather sell it raw because people, in fear of it coming back, say an 8, because people have this mentality that if they buy a card raw, it's a 9 or a 10. You know, that you see the raw cards go for a little bit higher. So I don't know how much I would use it if I was in that situation, but it is a great option if you have those cards that you think could increase in value, or in your mind you think a fair grader like CSG would be able to give it a 9.5 or a 10, and really boost that perceived value of the card.
I think
for me.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that for me, like I'm a little differently. Like I'm gonna send like all my Brady rookies in, even if I think they're gonna be a 4 or a 6, because I don't want to deal with returns and that sort of stuff. I want people to know what the grade is, and like this is the grade. As long as I'm not losing money on it, like if it's gonna appreciate a little bit in value by getting it graded, like it's something I'm gonna do. And to your point, I think the CSG's like $20 level is like $250 or something like that. I think is what they're like the limit for to pay $20. And then there's like a $30 level on the different tiers and stuff like that. But yeah, like I don't want to deal with returns. Like I just want to be able to sell it and have people, see the card. They know what the grade is. There's no question.
Well,
hassle free for me. So
when I did that PSA reveal on the channel with the 2 Brady cards that I felt were graded pretty harshly, people in the comments were like, well, why would you even send that to be graded? You know, it doesn't look like it'd be any better than a 7 or an 8. Well, to your point, EP, if you're going to sell something like a Brady rookie, you want it graded. You want to not have to go through that, you know, that card going back and forth in the mail because someone opens it up and looks and says, oh, this isn't a 10. And then return it. So I get what you're saying there. And but for me, it ultimately comes down to is the value worth the time to have it graded, though it does say it 10-day turnaround. So
yeah, quick,
you know, that if that's the case, then that would be worth it.
I was going to add that I feel like, you know, it'd be great for vintage, you know, that way, you know, I think people would rather know what the grade is of a vintage card instead of buying it raw and take your chances. You know, a lot of people, you know, like, you know, you said with newer stuff, people would rather take a chance to get a 10 than a 9 than buy one that's 9. But, you know, with the older stuff like that, I think there's a lot of potential there too. And, you know, I think from CSG's perspective, you know, you're trying to get a whole lot of cards slabbed in your slab with your label on it. And it's just kind of almost like buying market exposure a little bit, you know, just having more cards in circulation that are graded. Not that some might not get cracked, but, you know, I think the more you can get out there, the more people have them in hand, the more people look at them and go, oh, wow, this is pretty cool. And I'm going to make a little bit of a hot take here too, though, Joe. I know you love SGC, but like, like from a business standpoint, I just don't think they're equipped to battle on this level with like CSG and PSA. You know, they're going to be happy being what they are, and you know, they do a great job. They're a great accurate grader. They've come a long way in terms of value and how people perceive the company, but they just don't have the resources behind them to be able to try to make these deals and to handle it if they could. So I think, you know, if they don't, I'd be surprised if they don't eventually get bought up by somebody, but they're kind of our, you know, everybody's little favorite mom and pop shop. Personally, I think.
Yeah, that's like I said before. I mean, I'm bummed out that they haven't tried to push it a little bit more like CSG has. But to that point, what, you know, the mom and pop idea, it's true. It's almost like they're happy with their little niche of the world. They're still the preeminent vintage place. You know, and a lot of people like to send their PC stuff there because they have good value, great turnaround times, and they're very accurate with their grades. They're fair with their grades. They don't do the whole pop control thing like some of the other company does.
I don't know. I might argue that right now.
Yeah, no kidding. With your well, who knows how many of those cards were pop controlled, right? Maybe true. you didn't have many Brady's, so you got lucky. You only had a couple.
Definitely. I had 3 of them in there, but 4
Yeah.
of them actually that all got gem mints. So, you know,
You
I
got a
don't
new
want.
grader, man. You got a
I
new grader who didn't know
know.
about the pop control.
My next order that's coming back is going to be brutal. Oh. So speaking of brutal grading companies, Beckett just recently announced that they're reopening their standard service for $30 a card with no subgrades and like a 4-month turnaround time. My question is, who in the world cares about that?
I mean, I do a little bit only because if they can be competition for everybody else, competition will make everybody better. So I'm happy about that. I've never been a huge
Can they
fan
be
of.
though? Like, I don't know. Like,
There are going to be people who are being like, "Oh, BGS labs have always been the best labs in the history of the universe. I'm going to continue to use BGS. They're my jam." And like, so sure, but I think that I really like the opportunity that they can be competition for everybody else. I don't think I'm going to use them myself because I've never liked their slabs, but I know there are a lot of people that are still out there on Twitter and stuff saying about how great, how much they love the BGS slabs and BGS labels.
but the problem is these aren't having any subgrades on them. So
Right.
I feel like that is a big part of the appeal of that company. If they could have opened up at 30 with subgrades, I feel like, that
Which
might have given them something. But
that
how are
begs the
they any
question.
different than SGC right now?
Right. It begs the question, how difficult is it? You have to look at those 4 main things anyway as you're grading a
Right.
card.
Yeah.
How much more time is it taking to do the
Why
subgrades?
is it
I really don't get
$20
it.
more to get subgrades
And I'll
in
tell
your
you
card?
what, we were talking about from a business point of view, how CSG is making these great moves and, PSA and BGS could look at this and say, okay, PSA, SGC don't have subgrades. CSG only has subgrades when it's a 10. Okay. We could get that niche in the market of the
Yeah.
people who love subgrades, $30 subgrades. Boom. There are going to be people out there who are saying, I want to see why my card is a 9.5. I want to see why my card's a 7.5. I need those subgrades. How many times do we see on Twitter? Oh, I just wish they would tell me why my card is a 7 and not an
Mhm.
8. Well, maybe if they had subgrades, you would kind of figure that out.
They,
I
they,
just really think that there's a niche market that they could really dive into, and I think people would appreciate it.
yeah, they'd be instantly in the conversation if they did that, right? Like, because nobody else is doing
Yeah,
it. Like,
they're the only company
yeah,
left, really.
yeah.
I mean, unless you want to count HGA, but yeah, like there's a huge potential to pick up that market of everybody who wants a subgrade at a good price. So
Yeah, and I think the market is big enough that they could. Now, here's the problem I have. 4-month turnaround is terrible. Why am I sending a BGS in 4 months? I just did an SGC reveal. I don't know if it's up on the channel yet, but I just did an SGC reveal, and I want to say the turnaround door to door was 21 days.
yeah,
$30 a card, 21 days. Why in the world would I send a BGS if there's not a niche reason to do so? Why would I consider that?
yeah,
And
you're offering the same product as SGC and doing
the
it a lot
prices,
slower.
right? And the prices on the secondary market aren't supporting waiting 4 months for
Yeah,
a BGS card. They're right now. I'm kind of kicking myself for not looking harder into buying a couple of these, but one of my favorite Tom Brady rookie cards of all time is the Pacific Prism. Such a cool card. There were BGS slabbed Brady's 8s and 8.5s going for like $500, $600, $700 less than what I paid for my
wow.
PSA 8. And you could get a BGS slab for 1,500 versus 20. I got mine for about 2,000, but still you're talking a major savings. The secondary market is just really killing BGS right now. And those are the ones I'm looking to pick up. Now, will I crack them or maybe send them over to SGC for a review or a rehold or whatever crossover? But right now, BGS there's the value on the secondary market is not worth the 4-month wait for the same price without their niche subgrades.
I agree, definitely. So that brings us to our final topic of the day. I follow an attorney on Twitter, Paul Lesko. He's at Paul Paul underscore Lesko Lesko on Twitter, and he's an attorney and a card guy. And he, at the end of the week, he dropped a tweet about this situation. There's been an ongoing lawsuit against Panini in regards to their redemption cards. People claiming that their contract that they're breaking by not fulfilling the redemptions, and Panini's been fighting it along the way. And there was a ruling, I guess, toward the end of the week that I don't want to put words in his mouth there. So he said that it could potentially mean that the court agreed with Panini that their redemption cards don't constitute a contract. Now, he's not saying that he knows for sure at this point. Whatever the document was, he showed it, and he said that's very well what it could be. But wanted to talk about this for a little bit because, where does the hobby go if a redemption card really is BS and doesn't have to be filled by the company that's putting it out?
These last couple of, and we won't get into it today, but the Marks card thing too. I mean, court rulings that have come out recently have been really punching in the face of collectors. It's just, it's mind blowing to me, and yet another reason why I hate Panini so much. Like, I can't believe it. This is kind of funny. Kind of ironic. I was going through some of those old cards, like I said, and I came across a Roy Williams, the great defensive back for the Cowboys years ago. It was a RPA of his from, what year was he? 2002 or something like that. And I actually, going through, I found the original redemption card. So I'm going to sell that as the card and the redemption card. And I'm thinking, can you just imagine 5 years from now looking at all these Panini redemption cards that just won't be fulfilled because they're like, well, we couldn't get the autographs or we couldn't do anything about it. That's just such a slap in the face to collectors who open up it's annoying enough to get a redemption card.
Yeah.
It's annoying enough to get points, but to think that your redemption won't even be fulfilled is it outlandish. I can't believe that they can get away with it. If they can, we don't want to put words in the lawyer's mouth, but if they can get away with it, it's ridiculous.
Looking like at least a possibility that might be the ruling. Yeah.
It was a class action suit, I think, right? I haven't received anything from anybody saying, you need to sign up for this or whatever. But so I'm not part of the class action suit. But I feel like how is that not a contract? Like, you bought this product and you got this thing and this right
here,
there.
You're gonna get this.
Yeah, like, how is it not a contract? Like, that's the thing that blows me away. Like, I don't understand how a judge could rule that way. Like, it's
this is why product. We're not judges. We don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, man, like, and as Panini as a company too, like, how would they not want to? I mean, they're just printing money, so what do they care? But like, as somebody who sells cards on eBay, like, I'm always trying to like make my customers happy, and like, how there are a lot of Panini redemption cards out there, and how many unhappy customers are they going to end up with because of if this comes to pass and if they're allowed to not honor these contracts?
Yeah, a lot of them out there too. And what can you do? Like, if you're buying a basketball card, you don't have any other that you can buy. You have to keep buying Panini. So like, you have nothing you can do if it's ruled that they don't have to fill redemption cards. Like my question is, when it gets closer to the time that Fanatics is going to take over everything, like, what incentive are they going to have then to fill a redemption card?
Right.
Like, that last year of Panini product, like, I would not want a redemption card because I have no trust that they're going to fill it.
Right.
And I talked to you about that a little bit too, Joe. I had, considered buying a Paul Heyman. I got one of them, a redemption card for a regular autograph out of Prism, but like, some of the higher dollar stuff, there's no way I'm going to spend $500 on a redemption card that I don't know I'm ever going to get the card, or when, if I ever do.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's like at no point would I ever consider buying a redemption card. Never. I would never consider it. I would need the actual autograph, or they do the XRCs too, which are redemption cards as well. I would need the actual card. I would never buy that because, again, as we get closer and closer to Topps taking over a lot of this stuff, Panini can just charge whatever they want.
Mhm.
You'll buy it because sports card collectors have very little self-control, and you're going to get screwed out of your redemption card. The fact that there are redemption cards anyway is kind of ridiculous. I mean,
I agree.
they're paying so much money for these licenses, and how can they not get? And this is not a new thing, guys. This is not, it's because of COVID. They have to do it this way because they can't get the autographs right now because of the pandemic. No, redemption cards have been a thing since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they are kind of holding them over people's heads and you never know when you're going to get them. It's just, I don't know. It's so off-putting.
Especially when everything's on a sticker now. Like,
right.
How hard is it to send them the stickers, the return envelope, and okay, when you send these back, you get X amount of money,
Right.
Like you would think it would be an easy. I mean, I'm probably oversimplifying it. I don't really know, but boy, to the normal collector, it doesn't seem like it should be that big of a deal.
I feel like also the redemptions it's gotten worse. Right? Like back in the day, like way back in the 90s, I thought it was like maybe one or two cards, but it seems like there's a lot more redemptions that are like they've been more lenient about. Well, we'll just do a redemption for this one kind of deal. More
big
lately.
Stars too, wasn't Balls? He was a redemption, right? LaMelo Ball, wasn't he a redemption card for the early products? Justin Fields, one of the top quarterbacks in the draft last year, he was a redemption in a lot of the products. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And that's another reason why it's very difficult for me to want to go out and buy $1,000 box of Prism or something like that. I mean, redemptions in like things like National Treasures too. Like, how much were National Treasures football? They just came out. Wasn't it like $8,000 a box?
Yeah, $8K, I think.
And there are redemption cards in it. It's like, what? What is happening right now?
I know. Imagine spending that kind of money, sitting down, getting a great hit, but it's a redemption card, and scratching it off and putting the code in, and then waiting and waiting and waiting. And you're spending $8K on a box. I don't want to have to wait 3 years and hope that I get my card, but what?
And if I pull a redemption, if I randomly would decide to rip something from Panini and I got a redemption, I would sell the card. I would sell the redemption card. I would not have any sort of allegiance to that redemption at all. I would try and get rid of it as soon as possible before people realize, oh shit, I might not get this card ever, as they're bidding on my redemption.
I made the mistake of doing that. I had two. I mean, one was a Ramondre Stevenson, so it wasn't a big deal. But out of that XR box, I got a Elijah Moore patch auto RPA numbered out of 10. And, that has now been, I don't know, 5 months or so in their system. And, I don't know, like they offer to replace something, but I don't know what they replace it with if you choose something. Like, I don't know if I'll get anything of equal value, a similar player, or just whatever they have laying around. So I kind of holding that off and sitting there waiting with everybody else that has a redemption card.
And it just also tells you a little bit too that if judges don't know about cards, this is the second big court kind of conversation. And it's pretty clear that judges currently on the bench have no idea about this market because they're making a lot of decisions or talking about a lot of these type of things, and it's almost like they don't have card common sense.
Yeah,
so that's nerve-wracking.
They're just looking at the law, and the people and the cards and stuff are just part of the deal. They're looking at the law and trying to figure it out, and we're all sitting here going, it's crazy, but I don't, maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, I don't know, but it just seems crazy for a collector.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for the card companies, at least somebody somewhere, to pull back the curtain and show us the decision making that goes into when are we going to do a redemption instead of an auto, the sending the autos to the players. Like, just give us a behind the scenes, explain it all to us. In this day and age, I feel like the company that does that is going to like get a lot of credit from the collectors to just say, hey, look, this is how it works. This is what happens. This is how we get our sticker autos. This is how we get our card autos. And I would love to see just one instance of that from somebody somewhere. Would be that'd be awesome.
I'd love Panini to show us which Walmart they go to buy the jerseys.
Yeah.
To put in the RPAs. I'm just, I'm curious about that one because they
But
probably don't go
really,
to Fanatics anymore.
Like, if a company does not have to fulfill a redemption, what's to stop them from saying we have all this great stuff in this product, but it's all redemption and never having to fill it? Like,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
like there are whole other avenues that build off of that decision that could impact collectors. Like, you can't trust anything you see written on a box. Like, if it says it has this in it, it may not even have it. They may have never gotten it and they'll never have to. And, it's going to hurt the trust of the collector, I would hope. Or although people just keep buying Panini because it's all they have, right?
Yeah, right. And here we are, we're talking about potential redemption cards in future Panini products. We're into the 2022 season. I'm watching a replay of the draft right now. The Miz was just on announcing a pick, which I didn't know what that's about. But they're still releasing 2021 products for the during the 2022 season. And some of them are going to have redemptions in them. So what is happening? Where are these players who are just saying, no, I'm not going to fulfill this contract I have and sign these cards, or, whatever they need to do, sign the stickers? Like, there needs to be, I think it'll be better when Fanatics comes in, because I think Rubens will have a little bit more clout with the owners and with the NFL as a whole, that maybe this is part of your contract as a rookie. You need to come in, you need to do these photo shoots, and you need to do autographs on cards and stickers and whatever. Maybe they push him that way, but as of now, there is no ramifications for Justin Fields, who hasn't signed anything. Or Kyle Pitts, I think, was another one that was always in the redemption kind of pool. It's just, if it's someone like a third round defensive back, I really don't care. But if you have your first round stud quarterbacks and star players not signing cards, that's crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe we don't know what they're being compensated for it. Maybe Panini needs to send out a little more money. I don't know. Like you said, I have a little more trust that Michael Rubin, when Fanatics takes everything over, they're going to make, they're going to be more partners with the league and the players. And hopefully that, will reward the players monetarily to get this stuff out so they have it for the product.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Well, that's a pretty good chat this week. Guess we'll wrap it up here, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Retro Card Chat podcast. Look for a new episode every week.